As mentioned last time, Toonix is Cartoon Network's Latin America's equivalent to the Noons. Unlike the Noons, Toonix became a brand after when the Toonix era ended, and Toonix expanded to Cartoon Network International. However, it seemed like the Toonix brand has died out. Fun fact: the blank Toonix has a face, even though they can be faceless in the bumpers in CN Latin America. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends is a Cartoon Network show that was created by Craig McCracken, which he also created the Powerpuff Girls for Cartoon Network. This was Cartoon Network's first show to be animated in Flash. The show is about Mac and Blue hanging out at Foster's home, and having adventures with their other friends, Wilt, Coco, and Eduardo. Other characters like Madame Foster, an elderly woman that founded Foster's home, Mr. Harriman, Madame Foster's imaginary friend which can be strict and has many rules, and Frankie which is a young adult which has to work around Foster's home, which she does get sick of it because of all the work she has to do. The show has many Superflat Pop elements. The show lasted from 2004 to 2009, which has a total of 6 seasons from its run, and there was shorts of Foster's home. The characters also showed up on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and even Rick Astley showed up to rickroll them at one point. There are so many characters in the show, but we will be all day listing all of them. But there's Goo, a girl that is very imaginative, and Cheese, which Mac thought he imagined him up claiming to be Blue's brother, but turns out Louise was Cheese's owner, well, former owner, since Cheese lives at Foster's at the end of the series. There is an upcoming reboot for Cartoonito, but as of now, there is yet to be an update to be announced. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, or known as the 4th gen of the MLP franchise, was released in 2010, and it aired on the Hub, now known as Discovery Family Channel, and aired on the same day when Discovery Kids was replaced by the Hub. Despite this generation giving birth to bronies, this series helped bring MLP into the spotlight. The show was created by Lauren Faust, which, fun fact, she is married to Craig McCracken, which both of them also worked on Cartoon Network. This iteration of MLP was iconic in the early 2010s. In fact, I became a brony myself, but thankfully I didn't got traumatized by the stuff since I didn't seem to bother searching the show, which was good for me. I did grew out of MLP, but overall, this generation is still well known and iconic. It's a shame that the Hub didn't last that long, but Discovery Family still kept the show going until the show ended. Oh Super Milk-chan, or simply Super Milk-chan, is an anime created by Hideyuki Tanaka, not to be confused with the Japanese voice actor. The anime was released back in 1998, and another one in 2000. The show would get a dub for Adult Swim, and another dub which was Americanized, which did have some changes to make it more funnier. Despite being aimed towards adults, the art style has some super flat pop elements and also overlaps with Y2K futurism, such as the art style and the retro futurism and astro aesthetic. The characters are Milk-chan, a young girl which has to solve the problems, despite being selfish at times. Tetsuko, a robot that takes care of Milk-chan, but Milk is often rude to her. She was made in the King's Ideal Laboratories founded by Dr. Eye Patch, which may or may not be her father, and he doesn't like Tetsuko. Robo-dog, a robot dog that is vulgar and crass towards Tetsuko, which ticks her off. Hanage, a green slug which is Milk's pet, which his heart has a voice that talks, which may or may not be Hanage's true voice. The landlord, which comes to Milk's house so she can pay her overdue rent, but Milk easily tricks him and leaves. And the president, a middle-aged president that calls Milk-chan whenever a problem happens, so she can solve it. If you like Y2K futurism or 2000s Adult Swim, then this is the show for you. Sarani Poji is an indie Japanese music group by video game music composer Sasaki Tomoko. The group is Shibuya Kei, which more on that later, which was founded in 1999, and music producer Fukutomi Yukihiro, vocalist Yukichi, and Sasaki Tomoko composing, making lyrics, and voice acts in their music. And their music was in a Sega Dreamcast game called Room Mania number 203, which in Universe Sarani Poji is a singer. They kept making music, but Yukichi didn't return since she was busy with her band, so Higashino Yumi replaced her. They released their music, Mana Moon, in 1999. The song you are hearing is Bomo Mean Me, which is playing right now. Shibuya Kei is a Japanese micro-genre of music from the mid to late 90s, and the music genre gained a cult following in recent years. It's a mix of music like J-pop, bossa nova, and other music. In fact, Katamari Damacy has Shibuya Kei music. The reason why it's here is because Shibuya Kei music and Superflat Pop's visuals matches perfectly together. There are videos about Shibuya Kei, but if you want to get into more details with a few Shibuya Kei bands, then check Orange Glider. Before My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Lauren Faust created Milky Way and the Galaxy Girls, which features Milky Way and the planets, including the sun despite being a star, if they have girls named after them. It's a shame that this didn't become a show because it could have gotten some great potential. She was going to have dolls of the characters with the help of Hasbro, but they declined, but Hasbro actually said to Lauren that she could make My Little Pony Gen 4, as mentioned earlier. There is an unofficial fan series of Milky Way and the Galaxy Girls on YouTube, if you want to check if a possible cartoon of Milky Way could look like. Come on guys, let Lauren cook. Poppen Music is a rhythm game released by Konami's rhythm game Bamnai Division, which they also made Dance Dance Revolution and Beatmania. The game has a special controller with 9 buttons that you press on time with the beat. The art style has a Superflat Pop aesthetic, and it was released for arcade and home consoles similar to DDR and other Bamnai games. The latest game that was released as of making this video is Poppen Music Jam and Fizz in September 2024. Ponyo is a Studio Ghibli film written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki, which is about a little boy named Sosuke which finds a goldfish named Ponyo, which she would later in the movie turn into a human girl. Ponyo has some Superflat Pop elements, and it's a great movie, and it's one of my exposures to Studio Ghibli's movies. You should give it a watch if you haven't seen it. Same goes for My Neighbor Totoro. Come to think of it, the only Studio Ghibli movies I saw besides Totoro and Ponyo are Arrietty, and I did saw Spirited Away at one of my older schools, but I haven't watched the rest of that movie. Yami Online is a musical artist that takes place in Ozian World, which will show up later. There is a lot of Yami Online songs. Her most well-known song is Baby My Phone. There is a lot of Superflat Pop influence in Yami Online, same to Ozian World. Ozian World is musical artist and also created Yami Online. He also created Sad Boy, Doom Doom, Kami, and others. There is a lot of Superflat Pop elements, which I wouldn't be surprised if he was inspired by Murakami. On Windows 7 there is a theme called Characters, and the wallpaper has this kawaii design. So that's why they're on this iceberg. Long story short, Microsoft created an iPod competitor called Zoom, but in 2007 Zoom had released these backgrounds. Some of them have Superflat Pop elements. But this iceberg is referring to this image. This image was made by Ramiro Torres. There are more of his work on this old portfolio on Behance. Dexter's Laboratory is an old Cartoon Network show. In later seasons the show has a more cleaner art style, but however the show had downfalled by then at this time. Mr. Driller is a video game released by Namco for the arcade, PS1 and Sega Dreamcast in November 1999. It is a spin-off from Dig Dug. The game's art style has a Superflat Pop design, some Y2K elements. The game would later release on different gaming platforms too. The game is about you drilling down to get to the bottom to save everyone from blocks over everything, but be careful not to get hit by the blocks falling because you will lose a life. You also need to have air to breathe. You can find air tanks to refill your air meter. The Mr. Men Show is a reboot of the Mr. Men and Little Misses, which was made from 2008 to 2009. The show was both produced in the UK and the US, with 2 seasons. In the US it aired on Cartoon Network, and in the UK it aired on Milkshake on Channel 5. Both the US and UK had their own dubs. You can watch the show on YouTube, but however it uses the UK dub, but you can find the US dub too on YouTube by fans. Characters like Mr. Rude, Mr. Scatterbrain, and Mr. Fussy/Persnickety voices remained the same, but redubbed dialogue was added for the UK dub. After the Mr. Men Show, the classic Mr. Men and Little Misses returned. Hero 108 is a show created by Yang Mingtan. The show is about Lin Chung, Mystique Sonia, Mighty Ray, Jumpy Ghostface as they team up to stop a conflict between humans and the animals that Master High Roller caused. This show is based from ancient Chinese literature. The show used to air on Cartoon Network and currently Kabillion owns the show. The Kabillion YouTube channel uploaded the episodes on YouTube. Ni Hao Kai Lan is a, wait. Oops, I covered that on the last tier, sorry. I guess I accidentally added 2. Sorry. Mod Nation Racers is a PS3 and PSP racing game. The game has some Frutiger Metro in the graphic design, but there is Superflat Pop elements in the character design. In this game you can even make your own tracks, carts, and even your characters. The game also had DLC at the time. Fun fact: the team that made Mod Nation would later work on Little Big Planet Karting, another PlayStation racing game. Animal Crossing is a life sim game released by Nintendo, which the first game actually was released on the Nintendo 64 in 2001, a bit before the GameCube. Later the N64 game would be ported to the GameCube in Japan, and in the West there was e-reader card support, which was before the amiibo cards were a thing. And then in Japan they released Animal Crossing one more time as E+ to add the e-reader support and some extras in the Japanese version. After those games Animal Crossing became a series of games. Because of the kawaii visuals, sometimes Animal Crossing has Superflat Pop elements. My Life as a Teenage Robot, or Teenage Robot, is a Nickelodeon cartoon released in 2003. The show is about XJ9, created by Nora Wakeman, as she refers herself as Jenny, which has to balance her teen life and saving the world from villains. Jenny has a friend named Brad, and his little brother Tuck, which shows up to help out Jenny with her life. The show got a cult following after when Nickelodeon treated the show poorly, and hold the rest of the remaining show to Nicktoons Network in 2009. Fun fact: the show started from Oh Yeah Cartoons, which is where the Fairly Odd Parents and Chalk Zone got their start before they became their own shows in the 2000s. Go-Go's Crazy Bones is a toy line. It was a reboot of the original Crazy Bones from the 90s. It was released from 2007. There are some Superflat Pop and even Frutiger Metro designs on the characters. Kid Robot is a brand founded in 2002. They are well known for designer toys. Due to the boom and rise of art toys in popularity, there are a lot of artists, and some of the artists made something Superflat Pop related. Art toys will show up in the next tier. Kid Robot also releases figures based on pop culture, and still releases their art toys. My Sims is a spin-off of the Sims series, but it's toned down for children, instead for being for teens and young adults. My Sims has a more cartoony and simple art style compared to The Sims, and the style has a chibi and anime/manga inspired look. My Sims came back recently with the original My Sims and Kingdom being remastered for Nintendo Switch and later on PC. Hi Hi Puffy Yumi is a Cartoon Network show that features the band Puffy, which is a J-pop/rock band, and their cartoon counterparts, Fun fact: the show was available at one point on MaxSlat in America, but I think they removed the show afterwards. Correct me if I'm wrong or if they brought it back. The show actually was doing good before it was cancelled, which was a shame. Homestar Runner is a web series, which was based on a book by two people. This web series was iconic on the internet. It was a shame that it didn't interest me, but I might get interested into Homestar Runner. I did heard of it before. But anyways, Homestar Runner does has some Superflat Pop inspired visuals. Fun fact: the logo for Homestar Runner would be a base for the old Jack and Jellify logo. Also in BFDI 17 the voices of Homestar Runner guest starred in that episode. Furby was a toy from 1998, by Tiger Electronics, now a part of Hasbro. Furby sometimes has Superflat Pop elements. Furby had gone into hiatuses over time, but I think the most Superflat Pop out of all of them is the third generation from 2012 to 2015. Being one of Nintendo's iconic video games, Super Mario is a series, based from the Mario Bros. Video game and became an iconic video game from Nintendo, from all the way from the NES to the present. Mario has remained to be Nintendo's mascot. In promotional art, Super Mario has some Superflat Pop elements, especially the 2D art style. Summer Wars is a 2009 Japanese film, which is a movie Mamoru Hosoda directed. There is a digital world called Oz. There is a lot of Superflat Pop visuals throughout the movie. In the movie, an attack is happening on Oz which also affects everything, and there is a countdown. Guessing from the trailer, it's up to the main characters to save Oz from the attack and prevent their own town from being attacked from the real world. Sorry I haven't watched the movie, but it looks pretty cool from what I have seen. I have to say I really like King Kazma's design in this movie because it looks cool. Parappa the Rapper is a PS1 rhythm game in 1996 and 97, a year later, made by Masaya Matsuura, where you play as Parappa and you repeat the button commands given by your teacher. The game's art was done by Rodney Allen Greenblatt. The game was developed by Nananon Shah, which also made Viva Ribbon. Parappa would get a spin-off in 1999 called Jamalami, and a sequel for the PS2. The original game was ported to the PSP and got a remaster on the PS4 with remade HD art. Parappa even got an anime in Japan only and another anime that focuses on PJ. The visual of Parappa can consider to be Superflat Pop. Parappa, despite not having a new game outside of its remaster, Parappa is now a merchandise brand, and it's still remembered in Japan. But because of Sony's Japan studio closing down in 2021, it made it harder to develop games like Patapon, and the others. But don't worry, Parappa showed up in Astrobot, which seems to be PlayStation's current saving grace. Also the Prince from Katamari showed up in that game too. However, it's still unknown if another Parappa game will be in the works, due to Major Minor's Majestic March, a game that the Parappa team worked became a huge flop. Doraemon is an anime based on the manga of the same name. There is the original 1973 anime which is lost. But there is the 1979 anime and the current 2005 anime, which isn't lost, unlike the original Doraemon anime. Some of you that lives in the US might recognize him from Disney XD in the mid-2010s. Doraemon is a robot cat from the future that helps out a boy named Nobita, Nobi, or just Nobi in the Disney XD dub, a boy that gets terrible grades at school, and he is even lazy, to prevent Nobita having a crappy future. Doraemon helps out Nobita with his inventions from the future. The reason why it's here is because the show can count as Superflat Pop and a collab with Takashi Murakami and Doraemon, which is another reason why this counts as Superflat Pop. Fun fact: Doraemon's animation company by Shin-Ei Animation, which also worked on Shin-Chan, with both Doraemon and Shin-Chan are popular animes in Southeast Asia and even in Spain. In fact, since Cartoon Network closed in Spain, they have Boing instead, which airs their own Cartoon Network shows in Spain, and even Doraemon airs on that channel.